All right. Yep.
All right. So I'm going to check if we're live. I'm Brent. This is Joris.
Hey.
Hang tight. We're going to make sure everything's going live. This is the 2023 AOPA Awards, right, Joris?
But we're definitely the unofficial 2023 AOPA Awards.
Yes, right? And we're using this platform in StreamYard, which is kind of interesting. So let's get a few people on and kind of share with the audience a little bit about what we're trying to talk about with kind of these awards and letting people know, not only what we saw, but then some of the feedback that we've gotten as well.
Yeah, definitely. So first, do you want to talk a little bit about AOPA or not, or just us?
Just us, as we've talked about some of the awards, which hasn't been a long time, right, Joris?
No. This is this is a shock to me actually that I'm going to be doing this, but you're enlivening my schedule here, Brent.
All right.
So first off, why are you doing an awards thing, Brent? Why do you think the OMP community needs this? Why is this important?
Well, so I think one of the things that I've found is the spirit of AOPA 2023 was definitely one about collaborative efforts, and there was just so much excitement around it. And it's hard to get to everything, even though it's a small show. It's just hard to get to everything. And so I was like, you know what? You've got these breakout sessions, you've got the vendors in the floor, you've got these moments that didn't go quite right but ended up okay, that moments that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And I was like, how cool would it be to show and share some of that with our listeners?
Okay, that's all really good, dude. I really like this idea. And just for people who haven't been, what is it? We're talking 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 5 people.
So probably, I mean, it was probably a good. I don't know the numbers, but 1,500 ish. We're a small profession, so 1,500, 2,000. With some of the vendors and people, students, and that sort of thing. But it was interesting because you see a lot of the prosthetists and orthotists, but then there's a business track, and then there is the vendors, and then there is doctors, physical therapists, and students. So it's everything, all in one.
Okay. So it's a good introduction to the industry. Let's say a good overview of what's going on. And how many exhibitors are there? Like is it dozens or hundreds or?
I would not say hundreds, but it's more than dozens. So I don't. I mean, I would say maybe 100. Probably something like that. So it's a good amount. And there was a lot of stuff that people brought in. And I mean, additive manufacturing is definitely present. And I would say probably 50% of all vendors had something that was either used in additive or additive was the main project. So I think that's
really good.
That's interesting.
And that's up like really a lot since, okay, you said last year, it's actually a slowdown from last year because we were seeing a kind of winnowing out of like some of the more optimistic applications, to put it that way. But that, compared to a couple of years ago, is a huge difference, right?
Yeah, huge difference. So, so that's that. So, looks like we've got some people joining us. It is, let's see, -3, so 8:44 on the East Coast. Almost lunchtime for West Coast, and then almost lunchtime for some of the people on the East Coast. And so I'd say let's get to the awards, right? We've got quite a few to go through, and just know that Joris and I had a fun time with making these awards. These are not all encompassing. These are from one person's point of view, and then also we say hi to some of our friends that have come on the podcast, and so these are meant to be fun, lighthearted, but also then bring awareness to some of the people that may not otherwise get awareness, and for some of the people that actually didn't make it to the show.
That's cool, man. That's good. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first unofficial, not affiliated with AOPA, the show, the organization, or anything, awards, presented to you by Brent Wright and Joris Peels.
Here we go.
We go to the first category, the first really exciting category. Didn't have that on my bingo card. Mercurius, and OP. Congratulations. The OP and
So,
Mercurius. That was well deserved. Well deserved. What is this, Brent? I have no idea. I don't even know. I'm a complete OMP nerd. I'm becoming an OMP nerd, but I know nothing. Who is Mercurius? Who is OP? And why did they win this?
yeah, so this is really an interesting, and I saw didn't have it on my bingo card as something else, and I can't say that it's a surprise, but this collaboration is very interesting because OPI has been kind of a staple in the electronic medical records side of things for the O&P industry for a long time. And then we had Tara Nickel on about the IP. She was with Mercurius. And Mercurius is a modification software. And what's interesting and what I like about this collaborative effort is it's definitely clinician driven, and then it's driven into the electronic medical records. So there is always a record of what you've done. And so I think it's an interesting collaborative effort. We'll see where it goes. But I can honestly say I did not have that on my bingo card.
Okay. And what are they doing? It's an integration. So what I do in one is automatically translated in the other. How does it work? Because I know nothing, right?
Yeah, so I think there's going to be some of both ways, but definitely the digital records will be put in OPI. So the scan, the modification, and then all that, and potentially the final device, all that is in one spot.
Okay.
Now, OPI, then depending on how they work the API, and I think it's still a work in progress, we'll be able to pull some non or de-identified patient information. And so you're able to get all the work orders and stuff going the other way. So then you can go to fabrication. And then the idea is, hey, you track all that at the same time.
Okay. Sounds like it could be a time saver for some people. I think that could be cool.
I think it's very interesting, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and I think it's also really what is it going to be one big ecosystem? Is it going to be 100 different apps? You sign into apps all day as a practitioner, or is it going to be like one big app that connects everyone? And that everyone uses just that one software. That's going to be it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. The next up,
the best market penetration award by Brent Wright is by HP.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one. HP has definitely played the long game as far as they have, they saw late 2018, 2019 that patient-specific things and orthotics and prosthetics are the future, and they really have supported the industry all along without really much return, right? Other than there are some amazing stories. So that's one of the things that people say, well, Brent, why do you use HP and such? And I think it's the history. They started off, and this was before post-processing. And so one of the technologies that when I was evaluating all the technologies, I needed something airtight, watertight. Just for prosthetic reasons, and we won't dive down that rabbit hole, maybe for another show. But HP had that, right, and this was before post-processing and such, and they really came alongside our industry and were present. And they've always gotten a booth, and over the last 4 or 5 years, and so that's been neat. And as a result of that, though, is HP Multi-Jet Fusion is kind of the go-to for a lot of people making these prosthetic and orthotic devices. So it's been neat to see how their, for lack of a better term, goodwill towards our industry has also resulted in products revolving around their manufacturing process.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also kind of like being persistent. I think, and focusing on a niche, because for the HP bigger game, OMP is not huge, but it's just something they could entrench themselves in, and then you guys could be using this for like ever. So I think it's smart that they do this. They engage with you guys, and I think that they didn't just do it once. They just show up once and be like, okay, later, and did that, and they kept doing it. I think that's really important. I think that's really kind of good. The persistence pays off in this case.
Yeah. All right. Next up,
best interactive booth, and the winner is Formlabs.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't see the booth, so you're gonna have to make this one a little come alive a little bit more.
Yeah. So what's neat is Formlabs had a booth, and it was actually kind of off to the side, so I didn't see it till the second day. But they
Yeah.
had not only their SLS machine, but the post-processing side of things, depowdering and that sort of thing. They had great visualization of how big the
Mhm.
build volume of the Forum Labs
Mhm.
is. And
Mhm.
then they had the different materials, PA11, PA12, and TPU
Mhm.
that you could handle right there. And then the guys at the booth were, just so gracious as far as sharing, you know, the where the technology could fit and where
Mhm.
it doesn't fit. They are very quick to tell you
Mhm.
that we have a small build volume and we know there's a limitation there.
Okay.
And but what's neat is they had everything on site: the technology, the materials, something that tactile feedback of what you can do. And I think they, along with kind of HP now, are spending some time with our field and being present
Mhm.
and really trying to learn. And I really appreciate that.
That's awesome, dude. That's really good. It's good news as well. And there's alternatives. It's good. It's a really low entry point machine. We're going to talk about when you would use these things right now because that whole desktop SLS powder bed fusion thing hasn't really taken off. So it'd be interesting to see where you guys could use it and if it would make sense and how much you would have to make of what for this to make sense as a purchase. I think we should look into that. I think it'd be really interesting to look forward.
I think so
Okay.
too. Yep. So
So
next up,
next up, the best practical moments
yeah,
Spenties. What do you mean by this? Practical
yeah.
moments.
So what's interesting is Spenties, and we've had Brian on with
Mhm.
Spenties before, and Florian will be on soon. Is everybody has a brace or something, but there's always the question, well, can it be modified? Well, guess what
Mhm.
Spenties did? They set up a little workbench with heat guns, torches, different ways to modify the plastic, and then the pieces and parts to do that. And so I think that's great to have that hands-on. Here
Mhm.
is how you modify this plastic. So if you do have to modify it, here's how it works. And so kudos to Spenties for thinking that way, because that's one of the biggest questions that we get about any of the thermoplastic printing is, can it be modified?
And do you get like a lot of was it really hands on? Could you go there and like burn something or drill a hole in something or what was that? How
Yeah,
they
and
do
I'm
it?
sure they had to buy extra insurance for that too, not only for the power, but then, for the flame. Because I don't know if they
Yeah,
had a torch, but I saw the
yeah.
whole setup and scissors and how do you cut the stuff. It was really great. So good job to
But I think
Brian
it's
and the
smart
team.
because we've on the podcast, we've had a whole bunch of people talk about how they love tinkering with things, they love playing with things. They're very kind of tactile learners, right? There's a lot of people, and a lot of people were like kind of lost in academia or didn't know what to do with their lives. And all of a sudden, they get to have a thing and take it apart, and all of a sudden, boom, they found their whole métier, their whole thing. So I think you know if you're doing a booth for a whole bunch of people that are like that, to do a booth that like lets people get stuck in there and touch things and break things, I think that's really smart. I think that's really, really good.
Yeah. All right, next up.
The legendary moment, Jack Richmond.
Yes.
Again, you're going to
So
have to help me. Yeah.
yes, it's not going to take much to imagine this. So
Okay. Okay.
Jack Richmond has been in the
Hmm.
field for a long, long time, and we
Hmm.
were doing something about developing world prostheses.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And so all of us had our own take, right? We had the liners, we've got
Hmm.
how do you assess, and
Hmm.
then he works with a group called Hope to Walk, and they have
Hmm.
this process where they quickly make a prosthesis out of the same material, fiberglass casting tape. When you break your arm, they make it
Hmm.
right there for the patient, right there. And
Wow.
so what's
Okay.
interesting is Jack is an amputee himself. So after he
Uh-huh.
describes this whole thing and he goes, I've got one more thing for you. And he had his lavalier on and he
Yeah.
walks down the stairs and starts walking down the aisle.
Uh-huh.
And he pulled up his leg and he was wearing the Hope to Walk prosthesis.
Super nice.
Dude,
Okay.
man,
Yeah.
that was incredible. And so here's
Very
the
nice.
thing. It's like it's got wood, it's an oak block, it's
Okay.
got
Okay.
PVC with a dowel going through it. It's
Wow.
got this the fiberglass at the top. So not high tech, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's but man, he was walking very well. He said he was fairly
Uh-huh.
comfortable. He did say he wouldn't wear it every day because he's got other
Okay. Yeah.
technologies available to him.
Yeah.
But he wore it all the way, like that was his prosthesis for the day. And so you've got to make a little bit of a commitment to that. So
Yeah. But I like that because if you hear that it's got a PVC tube, it's got a wood dowel, you're gonna think it's some rickety, terrible thing. And the fact that he's walking on it in front of you,
it was incredible.
Wonderful.
And that's why I say legendary, because you just have to see it to believe it.
Okay, cool, man. That's a really good idea. Really good idea.
All right.
Okay. The next one is, well, I should do like the what real moment live, David Rotter.
Yeah,
okay.
David Rotter.
What awards are we doing here? This is like
this is a lot. So you might have to bail off pretty soon, you know, and it might be just me. Okay. So
this is a lot. Wait, I'm gonna check now. Wait, and now I'm worried. Oh my god, you have 26 awards, Ben. What is this?
Yeah, so
this is like the day. This is like the daytime Emmys, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's hilarious.
Okay.
So the real moment live, and we'll quickly go through this one. So David Rotter is very well known prosthetist, and he is making he is evaluating the 3D printing technology. So he really challenged the audience and saying, hey, these are some of the questions that I have. These are some of the problems that I have. I know 3D printing can't fix this part, but can it fix this part? And I think that was really neat, because it's not hype, right? He's trying to find what's actually going to help his practice. And so him being able to articulate that as a very well-respected and well-known prosthetist in the field was really important.
Okay. All right. That's good. I like that. Best use of FDM filament innovations.
Really? Yeah, this one's quick. Everybody
like
knows
these people
filament.
a lot.
Yeah,
we like these guys a lot. We like Michael a lot. It's just a bit, you know, are we?
Yeah.
What do they do?
So what's neat is he's releasing his pellet printer that is roughly $50,000.
Okay,
and that's a big deal. That price point for
what's the build volume? Yeah.
I think it was 460 by 460 by 950.
Okay.
So pretty good size.
High flow nozzle and everything.
No, it's a pellet high flow. Yeah. So I think you can go up to a 5mm nozzle on it. So any pellets, driving down the cost, good to go.
$50K. That is super nice. And okay, so you can get a test socket out of that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, so you're talking now, instead of like tens of dollars, you're talking about like single dollars with pellets.
Wow.
I mean, that's why that's amazing.
No, I know, but he did have bigger pellet printers. They were like $100,000.
Oh yeah. So he's got I think it's the Poseidon. It was like $125,000, and it's a meter cubed, something like
exactly.
That. Yep.
But that's also big installed. Like to install that, it's huge in your office. So so I like this. $50K, dude. That's really accessible. Yeah, that is really accessible.
And
is it? What's the print time? Is it?
You're probably looking about an hour and a half, something like that.
Wow.
So for a test socket, but here's the other cool thing: is the technology that he has on it. There's actually it's with a headwind, and there's a laser that runs down and checks your first layer and adjusts it to make sure that your first layer is perfect every time.
Okay, that's nice. If that works, there's a lot of people try to do that. It's really a bit tricky to do, but
that's one of those things where being able to see it live and in person, it works. It's pretty wild.
That's beautiful. Okay, imagine the business case of that for a second. If that thing's $50K, you could do like one a day or something. You're done.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you're probably 4 or 5 a day, and then if you do some sequential printing,
But if you do one a day, it's already cheaper than outsourcing it, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. For sure.
That's nice. Good.
All right, we're gonna run out of time, right? Your girlfriend's gonna come in and be like, "Hey, man, come on, it's time for dinner."
I'm fine.
All right,
I'm fine.
Here we go.
I'll tell you, it's a prosthetic award. I mean, she'll be like, "Oh my god, I can't interrupt that."
I can't imagine.
All right, best impromptu moment, Kurt Bertram. What's up?
Yes.
I don't know.
This one was really, really important. So it was on the last day, and somebody had a question about how does insurance look at 3D printing?
Okay.
And Kurt Bertram works with O&P Insight, and he's been doing coding stuff. So codes are what we use to get paid and all that. So he was able to take this question from the audience. I would not be the right person to answer, and just share
Uh-huh.
what they're up to. So not only the
Okay.
AOPA
Okay.
coding committee, but their direct relationship with some of the big insurance companies, with Medicare and such.
Okay.
And
Okay.
essentially is, hey, this is definitely something that we're working on. It's on the agenda, and people know that we're working on it. So I think that's really nice. It's not like people just have their head in the sand of like,
Mm-hmm.
hey,
Mm-hmm.
we've got this amazing technology with great outcomes. Can we bill for it? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother discussion. But Kurt assured our audience that they are working on it, and stay tuned. Essentially,
Okay, okay, I love that, dude. I think that's really nice. I think that's really important. It can seem boring, oh, codes, who cares? But I think that kind of stuff's super important. Best advocate, Jeff Sulberg.
Solberg, yeah. So Jeff, we had Levin on actually just earlier from Point Designs, and Jeff is their patient advocate, and he's missing 3 fingers, and he
Hmm.
uses a Point Designs hand, and used the traditionally fabricated one, and now the fully 3D printed one, and the
Hmm.
difference is amazing, and the way that he describes it is amazing, and he will hop on any call with a patient or a clinician, share his story, and really just share about the technology and what it's done for him. And sometimes that's the tipping point, right? Is the outcomes of what has happened.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yep.
Best business hybrid idea. One source. Yeah, we love that, right? We love one source. I think this is like one of these things we were brainstorming about at one point, how to do this, how to get economies of scale in this market, how to get efficiencies. And all of a sudden, one source comes in with like it's a buying combination kind of slash software tool slash something to save you time. And it's I think it's a really interesting idea. I think I hope this works because I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah. So exactly all of the above. So it's, how do you get your documentation right so you get paid, and then how do
Mhm.
you get your pieces and parts at the best price? And they're a
Yeah.
combination of all that. And I love that. And what a great idea. And this is one of those ideas where you ship it, right? You're
Mhm,
gonna
mhm, mhm.
you don't wait for the perfect solution. Just know that you're going to have good customer service, and there's going to be hiccups along the way, but they've shipped the product and the idea, and they want to come
Mhm.
alongside you and help you out. So I think it's
Okay,
neat.
cool. Perfect. The next one, the best independent manufacturer, Coyote.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Coyote, well, we've had Matt on before on the show,
Mhm,
and
mhm, mhm,
what a great company. I mean, it's definitely a small company, but growing company. Um, Amputees for amputees. But what I've loved about Matt is that, and Coyote, is they've really doubled down on the 3D printing side of things. They're going to be central fabbing uh, test sockets. They've also created some components distally
mhm,
for
mhm.
specifically 3D printing vase mode, which I don't even want to hear it from
Is there
you,
a base
Joris.
mode award? Is there a base mode award?
Oh
Like, come
my
on.
goodness.
No?
No, no.
What do you mean no?
We're not doing a vase mode award. Come on.
What do you mean?
Oh my goodness. We might have to
No.
cut this award show
No, no, no,
short.
no. Just do something for me next time. Whatever. I'm helping you with this. It's like you do something for me, a vase mode award. That's all I want. You can do 27 awards, and I'll do like one. It's a vase mode award.
And give it
Anyway,
to yourself, right? That's
no, no,
perfect.
no. I'm gonna innovative use of vase mode
Yeah.
to make everyone's life easier because vase
Um,
mode is the future. Anyway, best of composite.
yeah, and I
Til.
think I
Well, how do I
spelled
say this?
Tilgus wrong.
Tilgus?
Tilgus, yes. I'm sorry,
Oh
Tilgus,
no.
guys. Let me
Oh, okay,
see.
okay.
I think no,
Okay. But
actually I might
what
have been right. Yep, I spelled it
Til? What
right.
is it though?
Okay, it
What is
just
it?
looks weird. So here's what they've done. They have multi-jet fusion technology in-house. They print TPU and
Mhm.
polypropylene,
Okay,
which
okay.
is interesting. But then what they do is they also, oh my goodness, somebody put vase mode into the chat.
Very
Oh,
good.
come on, people.
Go vase
No,
mode.
no.
Vase mode for the win. Yeah. Vase mode.
It's
Hashtag vase mode.
and then
Trending.
Tilgy's. So Tilgy's, what they've done
Yeah.
is they have a 7-axis robot too
Yeah.
that does
Whoa, what?
foam robot.
Yeah.
So and
Okay, okay.
it carves foam, and then they
Uh-huh.
will actually put carbon fiber, like pre-preg carbon
Yeah.
fiber, over top of it, and then they're off to the races. So you are actually using a combination of
Mhm,
carbon
mhm,
fiber, flexible inner, and then sometimes some polyprop for some other items. So I,
Okay.
I
Okay.
just I just love the hybrid aspect, and
Hmm.
it's what works for them, right? Sometimes
Hmm.
there are things that you don't 3D print, and
Oh yeah, I think automatic fiber replacement, all these technologies have a place as well. I think it'd be really, really exciting to look at just whatever makes sense. I think that's a good point.
yeah. Okay.
Doesn't have to be all additive all the time. Okay, the next award is for innovation in CAD. Guest
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah. So this one was really interesting in that they focus a lot on automation, right? What
Mhm, mhm.
tools can you do to make your job faster? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and they started with foot orthoses, which are kind of just a hog of time. And then they're moving to the AFOs and the orthotic side of things, which also will free up time from your clinicians. So, literally, you can do an AFO from start to finish once you have all your automation set up in a matter of minutes, and it's ready to go to print, and it's fully custom to your specifications. And what I love is kind of the engine that they have behind it. It's unique, unlike what I've seen before. And so I think that's what's neat. They've got a lot of work to do. They've got a lot on their plate, but it's a very innovative software.
Okay, cool. Love it.
All right.
Best support for clinicians, John Naft.
Yeah. So
That's all top.
we've had John on our show before with
Mhm, mhm.
Comb, the scanning, We always say that scanning is the foundation of what we're doing is the modeling. But you also say, man, scanning's hard. Sometimes it sucks, right?
Yes, all of
And
it
so
sucks. Well, not
that's
all of
where
it, but a lot.
Comb has come into play, and they've made it more easy to use. But John, he just wants people to move to digital technologies. He doesn't care if you use his app or something else.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, and he'll come alongside of you and help you. And he's also helping create the tools for clinicians to do that. So he's super accessible, and it's just really neat to see what he's doing for our
Yeah.
industry.
I've actually tried to do the app, as you can attest to, and it actually kind of worked for me, although I was like unclear in one area. So, but I do think it's very, very easy to use compared to all the other thing.
Yeah, and we actually made something for your feet too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I told you. In the end, we ended up making it, so that was good. Okay, best support for residents, hanger.
Yeah. So,
Now you're bowing down to big orthopedics there.
yeah, what's interesting is, Hanger. We did a
Yep.
podcast on this when they went private. We're like, okay,
Hmm.
which way are they going? It could
Hmm.
be a good thing, it could be not a great thing.
Hmm.
And from all that I'm seeing is that it's a good thing, and that they're not only are they caring for patients, they're caring for clinicians, but they're also caring for the future of our field, which is residents. And I just love that they have a lot of resources for residents. You get to
Hmm.
see almost everything, and you can potentially bounce around to different clinicians, and so I think that's neat.
Okay. You don't think we have too many awards? It's like one of those James Beard awards where you get like suspicious if you're in a restaurant that doesn't have a James Beard award. It's not one of those, is it? No.
No, no.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The next advocate professor, Chad Duncan.
Yeah, so Chad, he's everywhere, and we've
Okay.
had
Okay.
him on from
Yeah. Yeah.
Salus as
Yeah.
well. Um, and he not only is advocating for the future of our field via clinicians, but he's
Yeah.
also looking into the crystal ball as far as, hey, where are we going as far as manufacturing, and how do we
Hmm.
get this for our um, students to see? And
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
just love how he advocates for our field and for our students and
Okay.
education.
That's cool. Okay, that's good. That's always super important. I like the future focused awards on the next generation. I think that's really nice. Best use of mile long line for lunch. Those that
Those
made the most of it. Okay, okay. This is I feel an anecdote coming on. The lunch
Yes.
thing was not very efficient. Oh,
So what happened is that I love the idea, right? We each got a card for
yeah.
$25 loaded on it, and it
Okay.
was how can people choose which food they get? Well,
Okay.
what happened is they only had two stands open, and so these lines got long, real long. And the other thing is that some
Yeah.
people got something that went over $25. So I have a colleague
Yeah.
of mine, and
Yeah.
hers was actually $25.07, and they wouldn't take her 7 cents, so she had to put stuff back. And so, but so that she made the most of it. But I hear stories of like Ann
Sorry, man. We're
Park.
gonna have to take the mayonnaise back.
Right, right. And she's like, I got to talk with a clinician I wouldn't have talked to, and I got to
Yeah.
talk with a helper of the
Yeah.
show, a stagehand.
Yeah.
That this was the first time they've seen people at like amputees, and because there's a
Mhm.
lot of people walking around on a prosthesis. It's a very unique
Mhm.
event
Mhm.
in that sense. And so hearing that, so those that actually took the time and looked up, away from their phone and looked around them and spoke, there was a
Yeah.
lot of that conversations, and I
I have
love that.
learned I've learned so much from just like literally this standing in the lunch line, waiting for the bathroom, whatever, like randomly bumping into people. And I've learned so much and so many different perspectives from people who are completely different and parts of the industry or completely different levels of understanding, completely different knowledge. I think that's yeah, it's almost more important than everything else. Just these random casual connections.
Yep.
The next award, best R&D, Ether
Yep.
Biomedical.
Aether
What was
Biomedical.
that?
Yeah. So I actually sat in on a talk by Sarah from
Mhm,
Aether,
mhm.
and I just love the way that they're going to R&D, and I think they're going to open up the R&D side of things from what they've learned. They're an upper extremity mainly company, but they take in data like usage. So like if your patient goes, "Hey, I've been using this every day," and you can take a look and you can say, does an hour a day or 30 minutes a day count as every day? So you
Okay,
really get an
okay.
idea. So it's putting all this information in one spot, and for ultimately for you to make the best decision for your patient, but great patient care.
Okay, okay, that sounds good. That sounds, really, really, really helpful. Best restaurant, The Eagle.
The
What is The
Eagle.
Eagle?
So it was a fried chicken place.
Okay,
I was like,
okay.
okay, what about fried chicken? But it was phenomenal. And
Fried chicken places should always be a bit sketchy, right? You shouldn't be like, "Oh, no, this is so nice." You should be, like, walking there with, like, one eye open, like, I don't know," and then it ends up being amazing.
yeah, and then you see a whole bunch of your colleagues there and such, and you're like, okay, this place is
Yeah.
legit. So it was good.
Uh, okay, cool, cool. The next one, innovative upper extremity, psionic.
Yeah, so we've had a deal on, and his hand is so fast, and they're using additive manufacturing to iterate quickly, and that's what I love. And so, when you look at some of these opportunities, he is really doing both. It's not only the software side, but the manufacturing side, and then creating something that our market has never seen before, and I love it.
Okay. Super cool. Really good. And then
We
best
touched on this
collaborating
one. Comb, yep,
come
comb,
again, best collaborative company, come, and
yep,
once again.
always. Okay, so next
Yeah.
one. This one's an interesting one.
You have to go places. Do you have to go? I'm doing stuff. I'm doing stuff. I'm in here to win it. I'm in here to go the distance here. We're gonna do this.
We're going the distance. Okay.
We're going the distance. Okay, okay. Wise Owl, Jennifer Dowell.
Yeah. So I'd ever actually never met Jennifer Dowell before,
Okay.
but she has been in in digital manufacturing for a long time, like on the carving side of things, on the some of the
Mhm.
scanning side of things from like the early 2000s and beyond, and in some big capacities. And so it was really neat to talk with her on where she thinks some things are going, and then she has a real interest in where additive manufacturing is going as well. And so it was just interesting to be able to get the perspective of history,
Mhm. Mhm.
overview from where we are now, from where we were. And I think that was really neat.
Cool, man. That sounds really good. I like that people have been doing through this before. They've seen this hype before, and they saw, oh, remember when, carbon fiber was everything. So I like that kind of perspective. That's really good. The
Yeah.
next one is a really interesting one. Most tense moment, the osseointegration panel. What would happen
So
here, dude?
I actually don't know what happened. I don't know that
Okay,
I don't know
okay,
that I
okay.
want to know, but I know that
Yeah,
our session was supposed to start
yeah,
and right at 10:30. Well,
yeah,
at 10:35 they were
yeah.
still going, and there was
Oh,
some back and forth, and I think it really revolved around what is um, you know what does good outcomes and patient care look like.
yeah.
And uh, So that's all I know. So the tense moment, I mean, it was
Yeah.
tense, and it went long, and we got all our stuff pushed, so we started like 20
Wow.
minutes late to our panel,
Okay,
and
okay.
everything has to, because lunch is coming, right? So everything has to happen at noon. So
Oh,
everybody had to kind of rush their presentations, but there was something that happened on that panel. So if you know, let me know. But
okay.
I know that it was a tense moment for sure.
Okay. Well, good to know that not everything goes better. Innovation in pediatrics.
Yeah.
Scott Hinchin.
So Scott Hinchin is really doing some cool things in the pediatric realm, and
Mhm.
he has some innovative brace designs. But it's kind of
Yep.
like the recipe that we've always talked about, or we talk
Mhm.
about the Starbucks or McDonald's. Like, how do
Yep.
you have good inputs,
Mhm.
recipes, and then an output with
Mhm.
outcomes? And that's what he is. And one of his quotes is, I don't sell braces, I sell outcomes. And I think that's one of the things that we've got to just
Solid.
step back and remember is, it doesn't matter how good that brace looks. If there's
Mhm.
no good outcome, it doesn't matter. And
Mhm.
so he's also in the running for the Wise Owl Award, I guess you would say.
Okay, that's good. That sounds really good. And then best of show,
And I think
point
this is the last.
designs.
I think this is the last one.
This
I
is the
can't
last word.
tell.
This is the last word.
Yeah, yeah.
Best of show, point designs.
Yeah. So Point just has done the whole thing. They started off as a small company, early 2013, 2012. They had these fingers, digits that were 3D printed in metal, which we've talked about is very difficult to do with high tolerance type of applications. And then we joked with Levin a little bit. There's the BC, which means before Chris Baschek time, and then there's
Mhm.
the ADFAM time, which
Mhm.
is after they chose to do everything for additive manufacturing. And what they've done, not only to combine their 3D printed digits to 3D printed sockets, it really is amazing and a work of art. And it's a sound clinical and manufacturing process that has allowed them to scale without major capital investment. And I think what they've done as far as model goes is a great model for other people as well.
Okay. All right. So next innovator in the space could do well to learn from them. I think that's a really good point. Really good point. All right, Brent. Thank you for this. This is a wonderful idea, actually. Kind of you unleashed this on me like 20 minutes ago.
about 38 minutes ago.
Yeah, 38. Oh, goodness. I had so much time to prepare. No, but I think it's a good idea. You should keep doing this. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
We should keep doing this.
Yeah. Well,
I think,
we had upwards of 30 people watching at one time, which is pretty wild.
Not bad. And I think with some more presentation, a little bit more graphic designer involved in
You don't
the
like my
PowerPoint there.
designs? Come on, man.
I love your designs of like prosthetics.
Yes, we'll get somebody else.
Great, you're good with
to
that.
do
The
that.
DFAM,
Yeah.
you're wonderful at DFAM, but
Design
maybe
for
on the graphic
2D?
design front,
No? Mm,
not so much, maybe not so
okay.
much. Okay,
So,
but I thought this was wonderful. We should keep doing this. I think it's good to. I hope we don't get sued for using the word AOPA. But I think we should keep honoring the community like this. I think it's wonderful. I hope everybody appreciates this and sees it also as a kind of lighthearted stuff with some stuff about the restaurant at the lunch and all this. But and sees this as a fun thing. But I think we're really honoring some important developments, things going forward, and I think it's wonderful.
yeah. Well, thanks, Joris, for hanging out for the long
Anytime.
run on this one. And
Yeah.
and the other thing is, if you have not checked out our podcast, the Orthotics or the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast, please check it out. There's 63 episodes out there, and we are actually, believe it or not, Joris, we're scheduled through the end of the year.
Nice.
We've got guests for every week for the end of the year, and so it's really amazing, and we're just making new friends along the way. So I love it.
Me too, man. Love this very much. All right.
All
This
right,
is great.
man.
Have a great day.
Take care, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.